Welcome to the Hearthstone Complaint Department podcast. Hope you are not sodium intolerant. Here are your hosts, Jay and Nick. Take it away, boys.
Welcome to the Hearthstone Complaints Department, episode 3, where we do a deep dive on the saltiest takes about Hearthstone, past, present, and future. This is not an I Hate Hearthstone podcast, but we are here to talk about all the things that drive people bonkers about the game, unpack them, and see how we can turn those smiles or frowns upside down. My name is Jay from This Week in Hearthstone, and my co-host is Nick from the awesome Hearthstone YouTube channel called Flair Hearthstone. What's up, Nick?
I'm doing all right. How are you doing this week?
Good. I think I'm getting better at the intros. We've only done 3, but I'm pretty confident in that. And for everybody listening, you will most likely, almost absolutely hear my dog bark because as every Sunday goes, as we're filming this, we decide that our state is going to get a whole bunch of thunderstorms for dinner time. But that's not what we're here to talk about. Episode 3 is titled, If I Have to Play Against This Card One More Time. And I really couldn't put any more emphasis into that one more time. So I've had a crazy week this week, and I really went up to Nick and said, Nick, you got to do me a favor. You got to tell me what are some of the most broken cards in the game. And literally within 7 seconds, he Discord messaged me like 25 cards. Like, he's got it. He knows. So he's going to be hard carrying me across the board this week. Hopefully we'll have something fun to say. And listen, we also got at least one, I think, voicemail that we're going to play live on the channel. Nick, let's get going. How does that sound?
I got so much to say about so many different cards. I can do this all day.
How was Hearthstone treating you this week?
I'm not gonna lie. I waited until literally yesterday to hit Legend and Wild because I don't know, I wasn't really feeling it. And then then I went on a 13 win streak from D3 to Legend playing even Reno Hunter, even though it's been nerfed like 3 different times. I don't know. I don't know what it is about when I play that deck. When I play any form of Even Hunter, I perform significantly better than anyone else. People will play my decks. They can't win on them at all. I play it. I stream it. I'm winning 13 games straight. Everyone sees it. It's crazy.
That's awesome. I did see part of the VOD. It was very interesting. They nerfed those cards. I think out of all the cards that they nerfed this week, and there was a nerf that happened, very small nerf, but it happened. I would say that most of them were nothing burgers. I really don't think that any of them needed to be nerfed the way they were nerfed, but it is what it is. There's nothing we could do. There's nothing we can say. But I love to see you playing and beating all those, those decks and being able to do 13 win streak. I've had like 2 of those my entire time playing Hearthstone.
Yeah. So the nerfs were standard focused, of course, and like they didn't really affect Wild. Reno going from 9 to 10 doesn't make any difference in Wild whatsoever. But like those nerfs didn't even affect standard is the thing. None of the I mean, the Unkiliax nerf hurts a little bit, but like the decks in standard that needed nerf didn't get touched at all.
Yeah,
it's very weird scenario that doesn't happen very often, but when it does, it feels really bad for everyone.
It does, absolutely.
It's like how at the beginning of the expansion when the Shopper Demon Hunter didn't get nerfed, even though that was far and away the best deck in the game, and it somehow didn't get nerfed, mainly because like it was only discovered like maybe like 3 or 4 days before the patch was even announced. But like,
do you think they're going like a week before the patch? How quickly do you think that they're able to? We know they've made like instantaneous adjustments to the to items, but about like
what happened. So a really obvious example is Showdown in the Badlands. They released the cards that were going to get nerfed on the 3rd day of the expansion. But by like day 5 of the expansion, people had realized, Snake Lock wasn't actually that strong. It was a fine deck. It was a good deck, but it wasn't this like day 1 oppressive deck that it was on day 1.
Yep.
And I feel like they keep nerfing expansions too early. before the actual broken stuff is found, because I don't know, because they just do.
I have an idea. How about before you have to worry about nerfing within a week, don't busted cards. That's
That
an
too.
idea. No, I disagree with that. I'd rather have the nerfs happen and some wonkiness afterwards, because I don't want them to shy away from doing crazy stuff, because that's where the fun stuff begins.
Yeah.
Like those nutty interactions or what have you. There are people, and I know you and I are in the same camp. We've talked about it. There are people that absolutely hate Reno. I love Reno. I think the new Reno card is awesome. I'm fine with keeping it, although I do respect everybody else who has a salty opinion on Reno. Just not me.
I think at 9 mana, like if they had just made the 9 mana change and then obviously kept the shuffle weakness, it would have been completely fine. Nothing wrong with it at all.
Yeah.
In Wild at 9 mana, it was completely fair. Like no argument if it was like a broken card. It was just a strong, solid card. But like the shuffle effect is just really what kills it for me, because it probably wouldn't have even been that good in Standard if it still had that shuffle effect, because it loses to Thogrun, it loses to Bombs, it loses to Plagues, all those kind of things. But we should probably talk about another card instead of Reno again.
Yeah, exactly. This is not, This Week in Reno or the Hearthstone Reno department. We're going to talk about cards. And listen, we've already said what the title is going to be, what we're going to go through. The game is going for us this week. We saw that. I didn't get much gameplay going this week. I am playing now because I want to get all my quests done before Sunday night. But with the storm coming, let's get going. So first of all, like I said, I asked Nick to come up and with a couple of cards, excuse me. These cards should have never been made, is what I kind of said to him. Give me the most broken stuff that you have. And boy, did he come correct. So we're going to get right into it. And I'm going to have Nick carry me through this episode by telling us all the fun things, because I'm just going to look at the card and be like, oh, that was fun. All right, let's go. Ready, Nick?
Yeah.
All right,
I don't remember half of them I said. Oh, okay. So Ship's Trojan, and we're gonna get to Totemic Might. I think, is it like the next one or whatever? They both have the same issue. Is that aggro decks have a weakness, a fundamental weakness that they have always had, and they are designed around. If you play a wide board of minions, your opponent can play an AoE spell to remove it, and that's the counterplay, right?
Yep.
So what happens when you play a 1-mana 1/2 that makes all of your minions have more health to get through damage breakpoints for removal spells? Suddenly, your aggro deck now just has less cards that can deal with it. In a much more egregious take is Totemic Might. Do you have a slide for that one?
Maybe.
Oh, there it is. Totemic Might. This card is 0 mana and gives +2 health. I understand that, like, when Classic came out, right, Totemic Might, there weren't really any totems. Shaman kind of, like, sucked for years and years and years. Totem Shaman didn't really, even Shaman wasn't even good when it came out. It kind of really only started to be good when you had, like, Saviors of Old Doom, where you had, like, Splitting Axe and Vicina and Totemic Surge, which, yeah, Totemic Surge is a good card, but Totemic Surge doesn't matter if your 2 health minions that are always 2 health die to any 2 damage effect in the game,
Yeah.
But then Totemic Might just breaks that. 3 mana deal 2 to enemy minions is a very standard effect that we see all the time. There's probably at least 20 of them, right, in the game. Just like, it's super common. There's even 2 mana deal 2 to all minions in Demon Hunter. But if you play a 0 mana, your opponent I don't like it. I don't like it.
All right.
Oh, sorry. I was going to talk about another card that fits in the same way. Never Surrender, the Paladin Secret, which is when your opponent plays a spell, give your minions +2 health.
Yeah.
That card had the same issues for a long time in Odd Paladin. You couldn't clear Odd Paladin boards because of Never Surrender. It's just, I hate it. I hate it so much.
No, I agree. We should have actually, I don't think we put that card in. That might have been one to add in.
No, I didn't talk about it because Never Surrender has been unplayable for a long time.
Next up is Treasure Distributor, 1 mana, 1/2 pirate. After you summon a pirate, give it, and this minion +1 attack. This just came out. This is recent. This isn't an old legacy card.
No, they just buffed it. Okay, so the reasoning behind the buffing of this card in Standard is we released this card. There's no good pirates in Standard whatsoever. We decided to give Rogue a bunch of pirates, except we didn't give him enough pirates. So let's buff Treasure Distributor. Treasure Distributor still sucks in Standard. And then, oh wait, pirates are the best tribe in the game in Wild and have been for a long ass time. So what do? You now have one of the most broken one-man minions ever in Treasure Distributor. So many people are putting this above Void Touch Attendant and Ship's Churgeon on their like list of best one drops ever, which is insane to think about. Like,
and let's go through it because this card just came out, and if anybody's been looking at any of the new cards, there's a lot of pirates. There's a lot of pirates. Let me say that one more time. There's a lot of pirates. There's going to be some broken stuff because of this card. Thank you very much, Treasure Distributor.
Yeah, I feel so bad for Standard players next expansion because they're suffering from their own sins.
Yeah, once. I'm moving to Wild. Next up, and I remember this one. This one gives me PTSD. Secret Passage. 1 mana, replace your hand with 4 cards from your deck. Swap back next turn. Ew.
Yeah, the Secret Passage, it's such a weird card because if you change one number on the card, it probably dies, right? But so does Rogue as a class, which is a very unhealthy. It's just unhealthy in general that the entire class is crutched on this card incredibly hard. At one point, like a month ago, there were 5 tier 1 decks in Wild that were Rogue. 5 of them, right?
Yeah.
Every single one of them ran Secret Passage and Gear Shift. Every single one. And yeah, Gear Shift is a broken card, but it's not anywhere on the same level as Secret Passage. Gear Shift gets a lot of its like power from the fact that Secret Passage, if you play Passage, draw Gear Shift, and then play Gear Shift, you basically just 2 mana, draw 3, and then you have those other 2 cards you got from the Secret Passage to play with anyway. So Secret Passage is a great card because it synergizes incredibly well with other cards, and it's just a great card because it's 1 mana, draw 4. I know you don't keep the cards, but if you play them, who cares? Can you believe this card? Can you believe this card came out as five cards?
It was crazy. Everybody thought it was broken at 4 cards.
Yeah.
It's just the amount of wackiness that happened during this time. I think Rogue was like, if not tier 1, it was absolutely up above 50% for a long period of time because of this area. Because of this set and this card. At least from the Standard, interactions, I'm not as much into Wild as much as I should, which is probably going to change with this next expansion. We shall see. But yeah, this one has always, I look at it and I like twitch a little bit. Razor Scale. Now, I'm curious to this, and I'm going to talk about this one first. Okay. Razor Scale is a 2 mana, 3 mana, 2/4 dragon with cards can't cost less than 2. Isn't this a good thing in the meta that we're dealing with right now?
Yes.
Go ahead, Nick.
Yes. Okay. So I said Razor Scale because you asked me what are like the most strong cards, like the most broken cards. Razor Scale is I think it's like one of the best cards in the entire game right now, especially in Wild. In Standard, I guess I understand. Standard's doesn't have counterfeit coin, doesn't have preparation, doesn't have Secret Passage, it doesn't have stuff like that, right? But in Wild, when Rogue is everything, when 40% of the game is just Rogue that's playing all these cards, Razor Scale gets so much value. Razor Scale is also really good into other combo decks in general. It's great into your Huron Hunter because the minions can't cost 0, they cost 2. It's great into aggro decks in general because if you say you coin this on 2 into Pirate Rogue, right? Obviously you're going to lose anyway because you coined this on 2, but they can only play 1 minion. They can't play 2, 3 minions in their turn because it costs so much. It's great. It's just so good because Hearthstone is all about mana cheat. And as time goes on, Razor Scale will just get better and better and better and better. And there is a genuine argument that this might be one of the best cards ever. It's not flashy. It's not anything special. People have a hard time conceptually grasping really powerful cards that aren't flashy. It's easy to understand why Patches is really strong. It's easy to understand why Zephyrus is really strong. It's not that easy to understand why Razor Scale is really strong, why Okani is really strong, why Boom Pistol Bully is really strong. Lotheb, we all know why Lotheb's really strong, but it's the same idea for Boom Pistol Bully. It's harder to conceptualize tech cards being strong than cards that are progressive than reactive in a way. But that's why something like Razor Scale is so good, because it's a proactive tech card, like your Far Watch Post, your Bully, your Lothal, all these things, rather than it being like, okay, Eater of Secrets, which is a reactive tech card and is terrible, you know?
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And for those of you that are watching the video that we're doing here, I put on here the comic book guy with worst card ever. And you know what? Maybe I should have just put most broken card ever. I get it, because I'm looking at this and I'm like, okay, I see the other ones. The other ones are crystal clear, right to our face. And maybe I was sitting there thinking like, oh yeah, it's broken, and that makes it the worst. But don't pay any mind to me. I did this at 3:00 in the morning. So okay, let's go to the next one. Gear Shift. Yeah. Hey, look, I think you just mentioned Gear Shift.
I did mention Gear Shift when we talked about Secret Passage. I didn't mention, though, one of the biggest reasons why Gear Shift is so strong is that if you're playing Miracle Rogue, right, what's the worst thing you can do playing Miracle Rogue? You have 2 12-mana minions in your deck. If you draw them both, that's awful, right? But what's this? You can put them back into your deck and draw 3 cards? Insane. It's not 1 mana, draw 1 card, which a lot of people like to say this card, and what people thought when the card was coming out, right? Where people really underrated it.
Right,
it's
right.
That's 1 mana. It's 1 mana, put 2 bad cards into your deck, draw 3 good cards, or 1 mana, draw 3 if you have no cards in hand, which Rogue does a lot. 1 mana, draw 3 if you play Secret Passage, which Rogue does a lot. It's so many different things that make this card really, really strong.
Yeah, I think that's why this is one that still, Miracle Rogue hit a bump in the road a couple of weeks ago, but now it's coming back. Like this Miracle Rogue is a cheap, budget deck that keeps going back up above 50%, I believe, in part, to this card and a couple other cards, obviously. But yeah, this one, Miracle Rogue, is very, very strong, and this is one of the reasons why it's very, very strong.
Yeah. Like, there we go. There's the exact card I was about to talk about.
While we're talking about worst cards ever, no, listen, Breakdance, 1 mana, Shadow Spell. Return a friendly minion to your hand, summon a dancer with its stats, and rush. This is gross. Go ahead, take it away, Nick.
Isn't this card like really good in Standard too right now?
Oh, absolutely. This is one of the problematic cards. When you're facing Rogue, you're like, I'm hoping they don't have Breakdance. And Breakdance, I believe, works very well in Miracle Rogue to be able to, remove the mech and have it go back in, and it's just gross how strong this one is.
Yeah, it's just. Do you like 1 mana 8/8s with Rush?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like
you want. It's gross.
I think, so there's been an issue in Hearthstone, right, in Standard right now, that Giants are really strong. In Wild, obviously, Giants reign supreme and have for a long time. But like, Breakdance is part of it. Breakdance is one of the biggest reasons why. Like, yeah, Giants in like Warlock and Wild are really good, but like that deck's like bottom of tier 3 at most. It's just really good into decks that people like playing. It's not even that good. But then you have, on the flip side, a really good deck. You have 2 different Miracle Rogues. You have Standard Miracle Rogue and Pack Miracle Rogue, which Pack Miracle Rogue can have 0 mana 3/5s or 1 mana 3/5s, like with Rush from Breakdance. It does everything you want. It bounces the card back to your hand. If the card costs 0, you didn't actually pay anything. You just paid 1 mana for it. In Standard, you can play it with Sonya, so it comes. You get 2 copies of Breakdance because of Sonya and making it cost 0. Like, I get that maybe they weren't planning, a full year ahead when they designed this card for Standard. Wow, right? Obviously they do. So like, that's like a non-argument that I've seen people say is like, oh, they didn't interact or plan on the Breakdance Sonya interaction. I've seen that on Twitter by multiple different people. Yeah, of course they do. They probably know what they probably know what the expansion is 2 years from now and already have maybe like half the cards done. Like,
it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Sonya, because we haven't seen all the cards yet. I know we've seen all the Rogue cards, right? But I don't think we've seen all of the cards yet.
We haven't seen.
Be very interesting.
We got the leaks for Warlock, but there's still half of them that we haven't seen that Rogue can still play with.
Yeah, that's going to be. I even forgot about that. So, all right. So you said here, for those of you that are also not watching, you said Benedictus. And so I put in Dark Bishop.
Yeah. Oh, did I? Yeah.
No, that's fine. That's fine. That's fine. I put in Dark Bishop, and then I also put in Archbishop because you know what? They're both kind of the same thing. You know, Dark Bishop is the one the start of game. If spells in your deck are all shadow, enter shadow form. I like that. I'm not a priest main. I don't like playing priest, but I like the fact that I'm able to play shadow priest and do damage instead of healing. Yeah. So out of all of the priest decks that have been around since I started playing, you know, in 2017, this one is one of my favorites. But the next one, it could be thrown away into oblivion.
Yeah. I like Dark Bishop Benedictus in the sense of Reno Priest. I think, you know, having the 2 damage hero power is really cool. It feels like what Reno Hunter should feel like, in my opinion. Reno Hunter does not live up to what it feels like for the class. Hunter just gets shafted over and over and over again for these tempo minions that it really needs. They keep giving it like terrible big beasts for 3 straight years that are completely unplayable in the format, or arcane spells, which are completely unplayable in the format. So Reno Hunter, although it's pretty good, it doesn't live up to what you would expect from the class. Unlike Reno Priest, which feels like a Hunter deck. You go face, you play on curve every single turn, and then you burn down your opponent throughout the game. And that feels exactly like how a Hunter deck should play, and Reno Priest is really good at it. But when you look at like aggro, the Shadow Priest, that deck is just, it's so gross. Like, have you seen the screenshots that people post where they'll just kill their opponent on turn 3 with like a minimal high roll? Have you seen those screenshots?
I don't know, but that doesn't mean I haven't seen them. You know, I know, listen, I stay away from Wild a little bit because of how crazy the interactions are. And, you know, keeping up with the meta for those are just even nuttier than that. And I know there's Demon Seed there, and I don't want to go anywhere near Demon Seed. So that's kind of why I stay away from it. But I'm looking at this and I'm like, okay, I can play this with Reno. I'm kind of interested in doing that.
Oh yeah. I was going to talk about when it came out, because Shadow Priest was really good in Standard when it came out. That version of like Undead Shadow Priest when March of the Lich King came around and all that. That was like that. People really liked that deck, like for Standard, and but that was like an aggro deck that was like so significantly weaker. It didn't have Shadow Bomber, 1 mana 3/1, deal 3 to both heroes. It didn't have Ship's Chirurgeon. It ran like, what's it called? The 5-drop that got buffed and then nerfed because it was too strong. What's it called? It would like resurrect your undeads. Do you remember that?
I don't remember the name of it. Oh man.
Yeah, it was like the undead version of Shadow Priest. That deck was very cool. And then you had like aggro Shadow Priest in like United in Stormwind, where you had like 2 mana Elucia. Oh man.
Oh yeah. I don't think Elucia is in this deck. What about Archbishop? Let's talk about it. So if Archbishop Benedictus, for those of you who don't remember it, is the 7 mana 4/6. Shuffle a copy of your opponent's deck into your deck. Now, I know what the problem is with this, and I think it is a broken card. Because listen, you have a win condition, and then I'm going to go ahead and steal your win condition because I want to be able to have 2 win conditions, and you only have 1 win condition. That's what I think when I look at this card.
I feel like at one point this card was not amazing, but it wasn't bad, right? Because a card like this feels like it should have been like good in like a grinder style, like control priest, you know what I mean? Like back when you could play that kind of deck. I'm not sure if it ever was. Like if this was in what's it called? Darkmoon Fair, when you had like Galakron control priest that, just every single game went to fatigue no matter what. You remember that? This would have been like a broken card in that deck, but it wasn't in the format at that point, which is very unfortunate.
I didn't see too many of this card being played, really. I don't think
I might just be thinking of old Dane videos.
Yeah, that can be true too. Next up, Prismatic Beam, 8 manas. Deal 3 damage to all enemy minions, cost 1 less for each enemy minion. This has saved my butt. This came from out Showdown in the Badlands. This has saved my butt many a time and has made Paladin one of the reasons it's number 1 or 2 in the win rate columns for months now. The idea that we can sit there and have for 1 mana just go ahead and clear everything on the side is just nutty. And it does nothing to you. I think this one, if it's going to be able to be 1 mana, it should hit our minions as well.
Yeah, that's what I think as well. Like it should probably hit your minions for it to be 1 mana. Do you remember when this card came out and it went face?
Oh my god, I forgot about that.
Why did they do that? Like I get the 7 mana, right? I understand like it being 7 mana. Okay, they're really trying to push Showdown Paladin,
right,
like this new archetype, right? That's fine. But
100%.
Why did it go face? What? It made Showdown Paladin like that. So like Showdown Paladin in Wild, right? It was really good. It was actually really strong before Prismatic Beam and then Showdown were nerfed. It was like like an aggro style Paladin. Like that was actually really good. I think I hit like 300 or 400 legend with it, something relatively high. It was very strong. But like the main power of that card in Standard was just like the fact that you would play Showdown, then you play Prismatic Beam, and then what does your opponent do? Because they're punished for playing minions when they play into Prismatic Beam. They're punished when they don't play minions because of Showdown. And like for Standard, a card like that is and it went face. For Standard, a card like this is so toxic to the game. In Wild, it's just par for the course, really good card. But I cannot imagine being a Standard player day one of Showdown in the Badlands playing against like pre-nerf Showdown and Prismatic Beam and Crusader's Aura and all this stuff. Like that has to be terrible.
It was nutty in Standard, when this was first around. It still is, but not as much. I know it's indexed now, but I don't see it like every single moment. But I'm also playing Twist right now, so it could just be me that just not seeing them. Next up, A&R the Lifebinder. 10 mana, 5/7. It's a Titan. Titans were all nutty, but go ahead and break this one down, please, Nick.
So I'm going to talk about Standard for a minute. I know I don't play that much Standard, but I have to bring up the ENR and Shattered Reflections interaction. I have to bring it up because that was so disgusting.
Yeah.
Like that's part of the reason that I wanted to talk about ENR is that like I feel terrible for Standard players having to play against this card. Because in Wild, it's a fair card for Wild, right? It's like Kuhn the Forgotten King, but a little bit better. But for Standard, this card just is like, what? I don't get it. Like,
there's some craziness.
Yeah, like you have the Shadow Reflections deck, which is really broken. Then currently, we were talking about this earlier. The best, like one of the best decks in the game right now is like the Doomkin ENR Dorian combo thing, where you just steal all your opponent's mana with like because of Dorian. Then you get ENR for 1 mana. You can cheat all this mana out, play a million Doomkins. Your opponent just can't play the game. Like
that one.
I would say it's one of the most degenerate decks I've ever seen in Hearthstone, and like I feel so bad for Standard players that it didn't get nerfed.
Yeah, it is nutty. I have seen pretty recently, maybe like I think it was Clark Hellscream just doing these nutty combos. You at sometimes you feel after a certain turn you are the NPC and your opponent's single player game when he is playing this deck. Absolutely. You said Dorian. Now, you said Dorian. You didn't specify. There's 2 Dorians so far that have been released. There's Puppet Master, the 4 mana 2/6. After you draw a minion, get a 1/1 copy of it, costs 1. And then there's Doll Master Dorian. Whenever you draw a minion, summon a 1/1 copy of it. Which one's more broken, and what did you want to talk about?
But Puppet Master Dorian. Sorry, I should have specified. But dude,
it's fine.
So in Wild, Dorian Druid is like kind of okay. I don't know. I've played against it probably 20, 30 times at this point. I don't think I've lost to it a single time. Like, either I'm just like better than my opponent, obviously, obviously I'm better. But the realistic answer is that it's just not that good. But people keep talking it up, talking like, oh, it's so broken. You can play your Dorian Togwaggle on like turn 4. And it's just like, it doesn't do anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I genuinely think if people were playing the Standard version with like the Doomkin and all that, it would probably be a better deck than the terrible Togwaggle version.
You might be right on that one. You might be right.
Because that Standard deck is so strong. I genuinely think it would be better to play Doomkin in Wild. Because the Togwaggle version can still lose to just like your opponent plays the treasure and then draws through their deck,
Right.
that still beats Togwaggle. You can just get OTK'd by your opponent. That still beats Togwaggle. Your opponent could just go under you. I mean, that would probably still beat this anyway. But like, if your opponent can't play cards, that's better than they don't have a deck. Because not having a deck is not that big of a downside if you already have cards in your hand.
Yeah.
You know? Like, versus, oh, wait, my opponent actually only has like 2 mana on turn 7.
Yep. It's broken.
Yeah.
We're showing right now. We just flipped to the other screen, and it's now Wildheart Guff. And this is, the hero, 5 mana, 5 armor, battle cry, set your maximum mana to 20 and gain an empty mana crystal, draw a card, and then the hero power let you either gain a mana crystal or draw a card. And it was nuts.
Yeah.
Nuts.
Dude, pre-nerf Guff gives me nightmares. Why did they think that it would be okay to give a card like this gain a mana crystal, not an empty one? So just a regular mana crystal, so you could still play another card. Like, that's such a.
No, I agree with you.
That feels like a mistake they would have made in like 2015. You know what I mean? Not in 2022.
Yeah. And this one was kind of like the most broken of all of the hero cards, right?
Oh yeah.
That's what I thought. It takes a little bit,
I wanted to still talk about Guff.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
The reason I dislike Guff is the same reason I dislike Ice Block. I dislike Secret Passage. I dislike I don't know Bolner. I guess Bolner is a pretty good option for Shaman as well. But it's these cards that are so powerful that they're crutches for the class. Bolner doesn't really count, I'm going to be honest. But the other three, your Ice Block, your Secret Passage, your Guff, they are so powerful that if they're nerfed, the class is just like significantly worse. And that's why I dislike these cards. Like, yeah, they're really strong, and like I hate them because they're strong. But I hate them because Blizzard just like put so much power into them that the rest of the class suffers immensely if these cards are ever nerfed. And they I get they're not going to nerf cards in Wild unless they're really big outlier cards. But Guff is never going to get nerfed as an outlier card because Guff doesn't look as flashy as whatever outlier card would be added, right? It's like how do you remember Star Aligner Druid back in the day? Have you ever heard of that?
Briefly, yes. Briefly.
Yes. You had Star Aligner Druid back in Wild, and it was really, really strong. AK-47 Druid, whatever you want to call it. You have Aviana Kuhn, you play Brand, then you play Star Aligner, you do 1 million damage to your opponent, and they nerfed Aviana because of it to 10 mana. The thing is, though, is Aviana Kuhn had been in Wild for forever at that point, and it never really was able to do anything that degenerate. But in the same expansion, they printed Juicy Psych Melon. And Juicy Psych Melon draws 4 cards and tutors them for 4 mana. Juicy Psych Melon was the real issue behind that deck, not Aviana. And then Druid just couldn't play combo decks with Aviana for like 3 or 4 years because of that. And then, Aviana was finally reverted for Twist last September, I think. So you had what would that have been? 4 years of Aviana being unplayable in Wild just because of a different card that is, incredibly an incredible power outlier, but they just don't touch it. They touch Aviana instead because Aviana is the flashy card. Aviana does all this stuff. That's where how Guff falls in. They're never going to nerf Guff. They'll nerf whatever flashy card there is.
Yeah, and it's a shame too when you have and I look at the win rate sometimes, and I look at the play rates just as much. And I'm only looking at HS replay when I'm doing this. And I understand that that's not a full encapsulation of what the meta is dealing with right now. It's only a small part. But when I see one card get nerfed and then the play rate goes to almost 0, I'm like, was that a good card? I don't think so. I think that card is bad. So if you have a class that just fails on the win rates for one card, or if the card gets nerfed, certain decks just become 0 unplayable, then you know what? You're playing a broken deck, and that's the problem.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go over some honorable mentions. And I know you just saw because I went forward because I was so excited, but you have not seen these. Well, you have seen these. Listen, the honorable mention for broken cards are, while we're talking about it, let's talk about quest lines. And 2 quest lines came out. They might not be as powerful powerful as they are, right now. But when they first came out, they were broken beyond belief. I'm talking about Sorcerer's Gambit and the Demon Seed. Take it away.
I played Collegiate from like Barons and United Installment, right? That's when I played mainly. I think it was objectively wrong to not bring these decks every single week if you were playing during that time, especially when they first came out. I think it was genuinely objectively wrong to not bring the Demon Seed and Sorcerer's Gambit. At one point, and then again at one point, it would have been like the Shaman quest line, and then like SI7 Rogue eventually. Just quest lines in general, it was just wrong to not bring them. That's how broken these cards were. Like, if you didn't bring them, you are actively making your chances of winning every week worse. And if a card or a deck is that strong, like, what do you do? Because there's usually you can just tech for good decks. You can play like strong decks that are like tier 2, tier 3 to play that beat these decks, but nothing really beat the Demon Seed. Nothing really beat Sorcerer's Gambit. Like, in playing the mirrors made me quit Standard. That's how awful playing these mirrors were. It made me quit playing Standard.
I agree. Like Sorcerer's Gambit, listen, I'm not as good of a player as you are. We know that. But Sorcerer's Gambit took a lot of the, okay, I have to know the game, in my opinion, because you just played whatever you want. Oh, I need to do Fire, Frost, and Arcane. Okay, let me do that. There's that. And it was done. If you could net deck it and you were able to have that quest and you didn't have anything wrong with hitting that quest, it was very easy to play that deck. Demon Seed, not so much, but yeah, I mean, each one of these went through at least one iteration of a nerf or what have you, and they were still powerful at that time. They never really went away to where I think it more went away with in Standard that they just left Standard than, oh yeah, we stopped playing them because they were no longer any good.
Yeah, Demon Seed got banned in Wild after I think it was 2 months of being completely degenerate. Like, the thing about Demon Seed and Wild is, yes, it was really strong, but aggro decks in Wild were arguably better than they are now. So Demon Seed, had that issue, right? It didn't have Dark Pact, which to heal 8 like it does now, because Dark Pact was nerfed so long ago. So it had it still had issues with aggro. So I really don't I think Demon Seed was broken beyond belief. Don't get me wrong. But I don't think it was as strong as people like to make it out for in Wild. Was it ban worthy? Probably, mainly because they weren't going to nerf it because of Standard. But if they had nerfed it to this 10 health effect that it has now, the take 10, take 10, take 10, I think it would have been fine for Wild even back then. You didn't have mass production. You didn't have, what else is there now? I can't remember off the top of my head the differences between the decks now and then, but. You get what I'm saying, right? Taking 10 damage is a lot, 100%. Especially when you don't have these really powerful heal effects that you do have now.
Yeah. These were broken.
Yeah, I get that they didn't want to nerf it for Standard. It'd be I don't know. I feel like of all the, I actually made a thing, the best decks for every class, and I didn't put this. I put Simpsack Warlock and Chamber Warlock because I still think that those were better decks. At their peak. Really?
Okay.
Dude, did you ever see the stats for Chamber Warlock? For Discard Warlock? At one point, Chamber of Vasidius had a 93% played win rate.
Oh, that's nuts.
Yeah, and people are trying to argue with me that Demon Seed is better.
When I was
I get that Demon Seed got banned, and people to equate being banned for being stronger, but the Crimson Clergy Priest. Do you remember when Crimson Clergy got banned from Wild? The 1-mana 1/3.
Do not remember that.
Yeah, there was the APM 1-mana 1/3 Crimson Clergy card that you play in an APM priest, and then that deck was not actually that good. It was really scary and it drew a lot of cards and it played a lot of cards, but I think that deck was a tier 3 deck, and people were just trying to make it work, and it just never really worked because you couldn't really do anything. This was before you had the 2-mana Forge card that would get you a copy of a minion in your deck, so you could actually have minions to consistently tutor minions from your deck. That was before that. So all you were doing is you were drawing all these cards. You were drawing all these cards to not really be doing anything. But
yeah, when I was saying that when discard lock was like super strong and prominent, I was not looking at win rates. I was not looking at anything. I don't even think I knew that like HS replay existed or what have you. But yeah, that deck was just super powerful. I remember it very vividly. And yeah, when I also remember, I remember some of the other ones, especially when we're talking about, the honorable mentions or the cards in this podcast and everything like that. And I'm like, oh yeah, I don't know if I want to go back to Wild because there's potential that I would see this card or this card or this card or this card. And it kind of scares me. I think we might have one more honorable mention. We might not. I don't remember how many I did, but it was a lot. No, we are done. We are finished with those. This was awesome. It was a deep dive, and now we're going to go into voicemail. And listen, if you want your Hearthstone complaint on the show, it's very simple. You go to the website, speakpipe.com/HS complaints. If you've heard one of our episodes already, we will play your voicemails live. Make sure we're making it clean, making it nice or what have you. Remember, this is a video game. We're not trolling anybody. We're not intentionally doing anything, but we did get a voicemail. We got a real live voicemail, and it's from Sketch E Tech. And are you ready to hear what he has to say?
Hell yeah.
Let's go.
Why do they print Quartzite Crusher? You go up against a deck that loves discovering that card, you will have no fun. Minions? Gone. You want to attack face because you're using Odin?
Oh.
Nope. You can't even kill Miver. It has lifesteal. There's just no way for you to counteract a card unless you have weapon removal. I had a game where I was playing Odd Reno Warrior, and I swear I took over 30 damage just because of that weapon. And the fact they can discover it and give it +1/+1. Why? Why is it a thing? It should be there. Why? What? Why do they...
So, what do you think of Quartzite Crusher?
Oh, that card is so broken. Like,
It is.
If Death Knight was playable in Wild, they would run Quartzite Crusher. That card is insane. 4 mana 3/3 lifesteal. Whenever your hero attacks is frozen. That's so broken. Freezing things is incredibly powerful.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's very, very appropriate. I swear, I did not come up with the idea of some of the content and everything like that. When I heard that, it was just kismet. And thank you, Sketchy Tech, for please keep on bringing these on. But we really appreciate these. It didn't make Nick laugh as much, but it's still pretty good.
Yeah, I like. Is Quartzite Crusher Frost and Blood? Do you know?
I don't think so.
I don't know what the runes are on it. I just know that like if Death Knight were playable in Wild, that card would go in every Death Knight deck. It feels like. I mean, I guess not like even Unholy Death Knight because I think it has one of the runes. I don't know what it is, but like it's just like when you give a card,
it's Blood and Frost.
Blood and Frost, yeah. So when you give a card a powerful effect in freezing, a powerful effect in lifesteal, and it's a weapon. So basically, you're just trading 18 health with your opponent. You can hit their face 3 times to deal 9 damage, and then heal yourself 9 health. So that's an 18 health swing. Or you can just hit minions and not care as much because you're going to heal from it. So like cards that usually when you have like weapons that are like get beneficial for hitting minions, they don't heal you, right? Like Outrider's Axe is a great example. It's a 4 mana 3/3 warrior weapon. If you kill a minion with it, you draw a card. That card doesn't heal you,
right.
And it's the same stats, same mana cost, and it's arguably just as powerful of an effect. Freeze is heavily underrated in this game because, like, if a minion is frozen, it can't attack you. It doesn't matter if you took the face damage. Freezing a minion just makes it so that you have so much more time to deal with it. Your opponent can't buff it. They can't give it Wind Fury from like a Zephrys or things like that. And then like, because it's frozen, it has to skip one turn of attack. So you could just freeze it that turn if it's a big minion, or if it's a Titan especially. Titans get incredibly worse because of freeze, because they can't use their effect. So into Titans, it's insane. And most Titans have really low attack. Like Amethyst has 1, Agrimar has 3, Amanthul has 3. I think the highest attack Titan is like maybe 5 or 6. I mean, I don't remember what it would be. Like, but they're not very high. So freezing a Titan is like super high value from your Quartzite Crusher. And then I didn't even mention the fact that there are so many decks in the game that run weapons. Weapons suffer from freeze the most of anything else, especially Quartzite Crusher, which is your own weapon. So if you're in a Death Knight mirror and you both have Quartzite Crusher, whoever played it first is going to be so much better off because they can't swing with their Quartzite Crusher.
Yeah, I was just playing a game with the wife today, and I had a great weapon, but I couldn't use the weapon because I kept on getting frozen every turn, and she laughed like a maniac. It's funny, when I looked up Quartzite Crusher, the first post that comes up on the Googles was a Reddit post when they announced the card 5 months ago, and they say, seems strong except for the rune requirement. That's what's wrong with it? That's what you have a problem with? The rune requirement? No. There's many reasons why this is strong, and the rune requirement is not a part of the story.
Yeah. Especially because, like, I mean, it's a Rainbow Death Knight card, right? Like, Rainbow Death Knight was really good. Was it during Badlands or was it during Titans where it was really good?
I think it was during Badlands.
Yeah. It was like, yeah. I just remember that. It was like really, really good at one point.
Bad. It's not as good now, but it was before. I like that. Yeah. Sketchy Tech, thank you so much. Please make sure, if you want to be heard on the show and have us dive in and unpack your saltiest of takes, like I said, check out speakpipe.com/HS complaints. It does not cost you anything. Let us know. You can also go ahead and just send us a note on social media. We're both on there, social media wise. And listen, we're done for the day. We finished for the day. I'd like to talk to Flair, Nick, for a few minutes. Please tell us where everybody can find you so they can throw out comments for us to talk about here.
On Twitter or X, I guess, and then on YouTube. I also have a Discord, but you can find those on both of them, I think. I don't remember off the top of my head. I'm there, very active on both. I make a video every single day about who knows what. Half the time half the time I'll just throw a dart at the board, and people like it.
For everybody who can't see, it's Flair Hearthstone on Twitter, on YouTube, and Flair HS _, on Twitter, just in case. He goes right there, and I'm like, I knew you were going to do that once today. I love that.
But yeah, I just started streaming. I did a tiny bit in the past, maybe months and months ago, but I started again. Do it on the weekends, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on my YouTube, anything like that if you guys want to hang out. Just recently, someone made me craft Galvadon Paladin, and we played it until we won. It took like 10 games, but yeah, there's all the fun there.
It was fun. And I know mostly everybody is here just for you because your wealth of knowledge on Hearthstone is absolutely astounding. But in case you want to know where I'm at as well, you're here on the channel. But listen, you can go to This Week in HS here, pointing to here, and then also This Week in Hearthstone on YouTube. The storm just started picking up, and the dog is going to bark any second now. Nick, I thank you very much. We do not have a tagline, but if we did, it would go here. Say goodbye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
See you later.